something I think you just said earlier, Bob. If they had just one legitimate, consistent 3-point shooter, I think you'd think differently of Scotty Barnes. I mean, it's just the.
Well, I think differently about the entire team.
They have so few avenues to score because they have very inconsistent outside shooting, and the entire NBA is a 3-point shooting game now. We see this in every single any game that you watch. So, these guys, the front office has a really, really tricky. I mean, we're talking about this now for
very
years.
tricky
road because they have a decent roster, but it is not good enough to win. And so, how do you figure out a way to keep that part of the roster, which which is good, and to amplify it as opposed to blowing up everything to bottom out? To get.
But Richard, you said the key word. Richard, you said a key word there. Decent. And you know what decent is kind of like? Middle.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Decent and middle are kind of. Well, and I'm one of those guys that if I'm in management at an NBA club, my goal is to win championships.
Right. I think yeah.
But there's lots of guys that isn't. Lots of guys are just in for survival. All you have to do is look at the long-term guys that hang around and, get to the second, or they're lucky to get to the third round of the playoffs and they think, well, I had a great year. But I believe that this management group is, driven by championships. And I don't think that decent is good enough for what they want. The other timing thing here is, guys, is revenues are going to jump massively after next year.
Right.
With the new TV deals coming in. We're talking triple what they make now. So that means more money for the cap, more money to spend. I mean, we see $40-50 million players. We're going to see bigger than that a year from now around the NBA.
Well, do you
want to save your money? Do you want to save your money? Do you want to bide your time to be prepared for that? Or do you want to start committing now? That becomes a key question too.
I think I agree with you, obviously, somebody covers this on the other side, that the NBA is getting a gigantic media deal from multiple partners. If you play that game, then my thought is that they'd be more apt to sign their guys now to commit to them long term, because, and here's the big caveat, and this is a Toronto thing, there's no guarantee that you can convince the best free agents to come here, even if those free agents become free agents. And generally speaking, in the NBA, as we've now already seen, right, the 5-10 best players never get to free agency. Giannis gets signed, or Jason Tatum gets signed, right? Kevin Durant is the one rare dude who's been traded and floated around, but like Steph Curry, most of these guys never are available for free agency. So if you look at it that way, I mean, maybe Masai and Bobby are like, we'll sign our best guys and then we'll hopefully try to improve through the draft. I don't. It's going to be a hard fix, because they're good but not great, and you can't win in the NBA unless you're great.
Well, you talked about Van Vliet and would you or would you not sign him? And the answer to that for me keeps coming back to, well, if not Van Vliet, who's your point guard?
Yeah, that they don't have one. That's the problem.
They don't have one.
Yeah.
And are you going to go and give the rookie the ball on a nightly basis and have him bring it up the court? Or are you going to play this stupid, which I think is stupid? Anybody could be the point guard. Siakam brings the ball up the court. Barnes brings the ball up court. Almost anybody can bring the ball up court. But that's not it. That's not what it's about. It's about the guy who stands at the top of the key and makes the offense go.
But tell you what, though,
that is Fred Van Vliet, whether you like him or you don't like him.
That whole thing about who brings the ball up the court, all you have to do is watch the NBA for a week to know that rule has changed. Everybody brings the ball up the court now.
Well, that's what
anybody
I'm saying.
Brings the ball up the court.
Yeah,
but anybody does.
I'm saying exactly that.
My issues with Fred, and again, I as a culture person, as a chemistry setter, I love Fred. He's one of the best Raptors of all time. I think defensively, he's a liability.
I might disagree with you there. He's not one of the best Raptors of all time. He's good, but he's not one of the best Raptors of all time.
Come on, John. He's not in your top 10 all time Raptors. Come on.
Absolutely,
I have to think about that.
He's a
Fred Van Vliet,
champion culture setter. You don't win a championship without him. He's been an unbelievable ambassador to the team, and he's great. He's been an all-star. Once you get past Vince, once you get past like Vince, Kyle, DeMar, let's put Kawhi in there. He's not on that next list. Whoever that
absolutely
group
he is.
Well, we might
agree
to
if you think he's not that good.
Who's on your list, John? Bargnani?
I mean, hey, come on! He had great pasta commercials. You know, he was good for the Italian food
Damon
community.
Stoudemire? I need to know the list.
We'll have to figure that one out. I wasn't prepared to create a Raptor list, but one of the greatest Raptors of all time. I know I'm going to get barbecued on social media for it. I'm not convinced.
I'm not putting him in the Mount Rushmore because that's sort of Kyle, et cetera. But I think I'm with Bob. Like once you get past like the pillars, he's to me right there. He's in that next group.
He is the guy. Yep.
I think that might be a reflection of why they haven't won anything since they won the championship, because that's the problem.
They don't win that championship without him. I mean,
yeah, but he was not.
They don't win the Milwaukee series without Fred VanVleet. Like they just
but that's he was he wasn't if he wasn't one of you. I guess I'm saying that I don't disagree with what his role was on the championship team.
No, I got you.
That's a long time ago.
I understand.
And B, he was still a role player on that team as opposed to being a cornerstone.
As a starter, he's been an all-star though. I mean, I think he's just because I think that maybe they can upgrade I still have immense respect for the guy, and I put him in my.
I'm not disputing that.
He's on my all-time Raptors list.
Look, we're wasting time on a ridiculous argument just because Shannon doesn't like Fred VanVleet. You're wrong, Shannon. Period. End of story. It's not even worth talking about. You know, you want to keep him if you can, but is that because he's a great player, or is it because you don't have any alternative? Because we do not know what the alternative is.
I'll segue it for all of us. If I had to guess, I want to get your guys' take on this. If I had to guess, I think they will beat the Bulls and lose to the Heat. I would bet, as much as it pains me, the likelihood of them losing tonight versus winning the two games, I think is higher. Like I think you have to play that. John, what do you think? If you had to like sort of, how would you scenario it up in terms of what's most likely for you versus least likely?
I mean, heck, if they could win tonight, they could win Friday. You know, they can. I mean, I think they can win both games, but I don't know what good that does them. You know, I really don't, because in the end, you know, I mean, it's the way the NBA treats this little play-in tournament period. Doesn't count as regular season stats, doesn't count as playoff stats. It's kind of no man's land. When we get to the playoffs and they're losing 5 games to Milwaukee, it doesn't matter. So that's my point. But if they win tonight,
but I think it does matter. That's the point. That's my point. In the big picture, does it matter? No. But in team building and making an evaluation of the future, and in terms of what Nick Nurse does, it could be very, very important. And yes, we can sit here and say they shouldn't beat Milwaukee, and you're 100% right. But look at what this team has accomplished this year when you think they have no chance. You know, they've won big road games against good teams that are better than them. You know, something strange can happen here.
Yeah, the one thing I'm hoping that doesn't happen is I just hope that, like, they don't come out tonight flat at home and it's like, you know, 110-90 and it's just a blowout and the season ends on just a terrible down note.
And that could happen too.
It could. Yeah. The thing about the Raptors, I'm not alone on this, is like I feel you used to be, if you watch them enough, I thought you had a really good feel for what was going to happen and how they'd play. I have zero feel tonight. It could go
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you.
I'm sure you're with me, Bob. Literally, them winning in a blowout, losing in a blowout, winning close, losing close, every scenario, none would surprise me at all because I have no idea how they're going to come out.